And the new polls show the Republican race for the White House is getting tighter in Iowa, but getting wider in New Hampshire. Just moments ago, Quinnipiac University released its poll of likely Iowa caucus goers. And Donald Trump, take a look, leads Ted Cruz 31 to 29%, well within the margin of error, with the rest of the field far behind. Also today, Monmouth University came out with its results for New Hampshire, and it is now the third poll in a row that shows Donald Trump with at least a third of the GOP vote in New Hampshire. The real race is for a distant second place among Ted Cruz, John Kasich, and Marco Rubio. With me now, Democratic strategist Harlan Hill and Republican political consultant Mindy Finn. Thank you both for coming on. Mindy, I'm going to start with you here because in Iowa, Quinnipiac found that while Trump is slightly ahead, his negative rating is much stronger, with 26% saying they would not definitively support Trump. But for Cruz, that number was just 7%. Is that a sign to you that Cruz will ultimately prevail?
Yeah, there are some troubling signs for Donald Trump in Iowa. I mean, that race, according to polls, is essentially tied right now. But as you mentioned, more than a quarter of Iowa caucus goers say they would never vote for Donald Trump. In terms of the matchup between Donald Trump and, say, Hillary Clinton, he does not do as well as a Marco Rubio or a Ted Cruz. And as we get close to final votes here, what we're seeing is that this race starts to really take shape, and there can be shifts even in these last few weeks. I think when voters make that final decision, it's really important for them to consider, who can do best in a general election, who has the longevity here in the race.
Yeah, a lot can happen between now and then a few weeks. And half of the voters apparently have not made up their minds, according to this poll. Harlan, to you now, I want to ask you about this birther debate now that's sort of ramping up against Ted Cruz. We have Rand Paul now jumping into this, voicing his concerns about Cruz's eligibility. Would Democrats really challenge this if Cruz does advance?
Well, if Cruz does advance, there's no question this is going to be on the table. So if I'm a Republican strategist, if I'm a Republican candidate, I think I want to get this out of the way now. If your primary concern is winning back the White House in 2016, we need to establish that Cruz is actually eligible to be the next president of the United States. So I think it's perfectly fair game for Donald Trump and for everyone else in the field to take a shot at him on this, because frankly, Cruz needs to answer it.
Well, and Cruz has answered it and said he believes that he is a U.S. citizen. But Mindy, what do you believe? What is your take on this about Rand Paul sort of jumping into this debate? He's at 2% in the polls, this latest poll. Why do you think he's jumping into this?
Yeah, it's hard to see how this helps Rand Paul. I think other than getting his name in the headlines, we're talking about him today. It's been hard for him to get traction in a crowded field, but it could potentially hurt Ted Cruz the more people pile on and cast doubt on his candidacy.
Mindy Finn and Harlan Hill, who we just lost there due to technical issues. There he is, back again. Thank you so much to both of you for coming on. Great discussion there.
Thank you.
And up